What if your freedom is just a new kind of slavery? That's what Fyodor Dostoevsky had to say about modern society. And today, I want to look at what he meant and why it still applies to our lives today. From our phones to our jobs to our politicians, we think we're living in the freest time in history. But have we just traded one kind of cage for another? Is it possible that we are not as free as we think we are? Welcome to the channel. In 1864, Dostoevsky wrote a book called Notes from the Underground. It's a strange book because it's not really a novel nor an essay. It's almost like Dostoevsky conducted an experiment with this book. He wanted to find out how far he could push his readers. Much madness could he include in his writing before they stopped reading? The book is written as a dialogue between two characters. One character tries to convince the other that all of humanity can be reduced to mathematical formulas. He says that science has unlocked the secrets to human happiness. The only thing left to do is apply them. To him, life is like a machine. You just need to put in the right inputs, and it will spit out the desired outputs. For example, if you take two people and put them together in the right circumstances, they will inevitably fall in love. Instead of letting things happen randomly in life, we should just use these scientific formulas to achieve our goals. The second character doesn't buy this argument. He says that there's more to human life than just applying scientific formulas. There's something called free will, where people choose to do things without any logical or scientific reason. The first character counters that by saying, if someone claims to act out of free will, they can always be found guilty of some kind of insanity. Dostoevsky wasn't trying to figure out whether or not science and logic determined human behavior. Instead, he was trying to understand how much freedom we really have. Are we just slaves to determinism, or do we have the ability to choose our own destiny? In the book, the main character gives us a lot of clues about where Dostoevsky himself stood on this issue. He thinks we do have free will, but that most people choose to ignore it. People would rather follow rules and stay safe than forge their own path. This leads to a form of self-imposed prison. We lock ourselves in cages of our own making, then throw away the key. For example, the main character describes a situation where a man is walking down the street and sees a puddle. He lifts up his foot to avoid stepping in it. The person walking behind him does the same thing. The person behind him lifts up his foot, and the third person behind him does the same thing. The main character says that if no one had stepped in the puddle, everyone would have continued walking forward. This is what he means by a cage of our own making. No one told these people to lift up their feet, yet they did it anyway. They conformed to the expectations they had about how people should behave. This is what Dostoevsky means by the lie we all live. We create these unspoken rules and expectations in our heads, and then we force ourselves to live by them. It's better to step in a puddle than to break the unspoken rule of not stepping in a puddle. Even though there's no actual penalty for stepping in a puddle, we feel compelled to conform to the expectations we've set for ourselves. We tell ourselves that it's gross to step in a puddle, so we don't do it. But who says it's gross to step in a puddle? We made that rule up. It's an arbitrary standard we created, yet we feel compelled to follow it. What makes this even weirder is that we usually don't even know the rules until we break them. Until the first person stepped in the puddle, there was no rule against it. The same goes for the countless other things we do every day. Most of the things we do are not required by law, religion, or custom, yet we do them anyway, because we've convinced ourselves that they must be done. This is why Dostoevsky thought that the freest people are the ones who realize the lie. The truth is that there are very few rules that we absolutely must follow. For example, we must not murder or steal. There are also a lot of rules that we should follow, like respecting other people or following traffic laws. But aside from those, there are very few rules that we actually have to follow. The rest of the rules we follow are optional. We choose to follow them because we believe they will make us happier or better people, but they aren't required. When we realize that most of the things we do are optional, we become freer. This is because we stop judging other people for not following the same rules we follow. When we realize that we made up these rules ourselves, we become less judgmental. We stop judging other people for choosing different rules, or for not following any rules at all. We start to view other people as equals. Everyone is locked in their own cage. So why should we judge other people for doing that when we are too? Dostoevsky didn't think that we should break all the rules and do whatever we want. Instead, he thought that we should be more honest with ourselves about where these rules come from. When we realize that we made them up, we can choose whether or not we want to follow them. Most people don't want to realize the lie we all live. They prefer to live in ignorance because it's safer. When you're a child, you rely on your parents to protect you. You don't need to worry about anything. You just go out and play. Your parents will make sure you don't get hurt. Once you grow up, that safety net gets taken away. Now you're responsible for protecting yourself. You have to look out for yourself. You have to compete against millions of other people to succeed. Life can be brutal. So it's tempting to cling to whatever safety nets we can get. For most people, that safety net comes in the form of rules and expectations. When we follow these rules, we feel safe. We might not be as free as Dostoevsky would like us to be, but we feel safe. If you want to be as free as possible, you have to realize the lie we all live. You have to wake up and see that you're the one who made up these rules. Once you do that, you can decide for yourself which rules you want to keep and which ones you want to break. You might even decide to make up your own rules. Most people don't want to do this because it's scary. It's easier to follow the crowd than to forge your own path. This is why Dostoevsky thought that most people are actually more lost than ever before. They're too afraid to realize the lie we all live. Here's the problem. As long as you're willing to conform to the expectations of others, you can do pretty much whatever you want. But the moment you choose to be an individual, you have to face the consequences. If you stand out, people will try to bring you back into the herd. Here's a story that illustrates this point. A young woman was dating a guy she met online. They'd been talking for weeks and finally decided to meet in person. Two of them went out for coffee. Everything seemed to be going well until the guy started talking about a book he had read. The girl couldn't help but notice that he was quoting the author incorrectly. She decided to correct him, but the guy got angry. He accused her of being a know-it-all and stormed out of the cafe. The girl felt bad, but she couldn't help herself. She had to correct him. She couldn't stand to hear someone misquote one of her favorite authors. Later, she ran into the guy again at a party. He saw her and immediately started yelling. Said that she had ruined his life and that he would never forgive her. The girl was confused. She'd only corrected him once, and he had blown it way out of proportion. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized that she had done something wrong. She had judged the guy for not knowing something she knew. She had treated him like he was inferior because he didn't conform to her expectations. She wanted to apologize, but when she found him at the party, he was surrounded by a bunch of people hanging on his every word. The girl felt like an outsider. She realized that she didn't belong there. She didn't share the same interests as the people at the party. She didn't even like the same music they were playing. The girl felt more alone than ever before. She had to conform to the expectations of the group in order to be accepted. But once she did that, she lost the one thing that made her unique: her individuality. In a world that values conformity above all else, standing out can be dangerous. When you stand out, people will try to punish you. This is why Dostoevsky thought that the freest people are often the most persecuted. When you realize the lie we all live, you have to decide which rules you want to follow. Sometimes those rules will align with the rules of the group, but often they won't. When that happens, you will be punished. This is why Dostoevsky believed that the majority of people are slaves to the system. They're too afraid to forge their own path, so they just follow the crowd. This is not true freedom. I think Dostoevsky was onto something here. Think about all the things you do every day. How many of them are required by law, religion, or custom? How many of them are truly optional? How many of them did you make up yourself? I bet the answer surprised you. Once you realize how many rules you made up yourself, you become freer. You start to see that you're the one in control of your life. You're the one who decides what's important and what isn't. You're the one who decides what's right and what's wrong. You're the one who decides what to think, what to say, and what to do. Of course, this freedom can be terrifying. It's easier to follow the crowd than to forge your own path. It's easier to let someone else take control of your life than to do it yourself. But this is the only true freedom: the freedom to make your own choices, the freedom to live your own life on your own terms. This is why Dostoevsky believed that the freest people are the ones who realize the lie we all live. This is probably one of the darkest videos I've ever made. If you want to watch something a bit more lighthearted, check out this video on screen. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. It helps me out a lot. Also, join my community to get early access to videos, exclusive content, and the ability to submit video ideas like this one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.